The night was quiet, the air thick with something I could not name, and the way she looked at me across the room made everything in me freeze and burn all at once. She was holding a glass of wine, her eyes slow and deliberate as they met mine, and I felt a chill not of cold, but of knowing and not knowing, of wanting and fearing what she might say next. And then with a voice that was softer than shadow and sharper than sin, she said, "He is yours for tonight." And the words struck like lightning, not just in my ears, but in my body, in my chest, in the place between my thighs, where thoughts grew wild and disobedient. I blinked, not sure if I had heard her right, not sure if she had said what I thought she said, but her gaze never wavered, and her lips curled in the faintest smile, like she knew every secret I had tried to bury, and was now unearthing them. One by one she stepped aside, and I saw him standing by the doorway, tall and still, his shirt half undone, like he had been waiting for this moment, like he had known long before I did, that something like this would come to pass. He looked at me like he had been told everything, like there was no shame, no surprise, only anticipation and heat, and I swallowed hard as I stood unsure of whether to run or to fall or to step into the fire she had lit around me and inside me. But then I walked toward him, not slow, not fast, just steady, like every step was a choice I had already made. And when I reached him, he did not speak. He just lifted his hand and touched my jaw, gently, then slid his fingers down to the hollow of my neck, where my heartbeat pounded like a drum against skin that was suddenly too sensitive, too aware. I let my breath escape in a trembling whisper as he leaned closer, his mouth brushing the place just below my ear, and everything tilted, the walls, the ground, my sense of self, until all I knew was this moment, this man, this forbidden heat that wrapped around us like silk and sin. He took my hand without a word and led me to the room that used to be hers and still smelled faintly of her perfume, of something floral and haunting. But nothing about this felt wrong anymore, only electric, only urgent, only exactly what I had never dared to want until now. And when he kissed me, there was no hesitation, no pause, just the raw, hungry truth of someone who had been waiting to be touched in this exact way. And I answered him, not with words, but with the press of my mouth, the sweep of my tongue, the way I let my hands roam over muscle and skin and want. And when he laid me down, the world outside ceased to matter, because all that existed was his breath, his heat, his body claiming mine with slow burning movements that made me arch and gasp and hold onto the edge of reason as it slipped further and further away beneath every thrust, every moan, every silent promise that this night would change us. And still, I did not stop still. I did not turn back because I was too far gone, too deep into the fire that she had offered and he had become. The morning light crept through the thin curtains, casting gold over skin that still tingled from the night before, and I lay there tangled in sheets that were not mine, in arms that did not belong to me, in a silence that pulsed louder than any scream. My heart beat slow, but heavy, as I listened to his breath against the side of my neck, warm and steady, as though nothing had happened, as though everything had changed, and yet nothing had shattered. But I knew better. I knew the moment his lips found mine again, that we had crossed a line that could never be redrawn, and still I did not move away. I let him kiss me again with the same hunger, the same aching gentleness that had unraveled me hours ago. I let his hands explore my skin, like he had never stopped touching me all night, and maybe he hadn't. Maybe the darkness had hidden more than our bodies. Maybe it had hidden truths that were now naked in the light, and still I wanted more. I wanted to taste the same danger too, feel the same heat that made my thighs clench and my back arch. With nothing but the whisper of his fingers tracing along my spine, he rolled me beneath him again, his eyes darker now, more certain, like he had made a decision, and that decision was me. I didn't ask why I didn't ask, how I just gave in, gave everything, because nothing in my life had ever felt this right and this wrong. At the same time, he kissed my collarbone, then lower each press of his mouth, writing a story on my body, that I would never forget, a story she had begun the night she offered him to me, but that only he and I could finish. And as his body moved against mine, slow at first, then deeper, harder, faster, I clutched at his shoulders, needing something to hold onto as the world spun again around this moment, around the wet sounds and soft moans that filled the air until I was breathless, trembling, undone when we collapsed together, sweat slick and gasping. I closed my eyes, not in regret, but in surrender, because I had tasted something I could never untaste, something wild and dangerous and real. And though I knew nothing could ever be the same, I also knew I would not take it back. And when I opened my eyes, he was looking at me like I was his, like I had always been meant to be here, like the night before was not a mistake, but the beginning of something we had no name for, something neither of us could stop, even if we tried. And I smiled soft and slow, because maybe some sins are worth repeating. Maybe some lines are meant to be crossed when they lead you to a place that feels like home, even if it was once someone else's. And as the day began outside that room, we stayed inside that moment, inside each other, again and again, chasing that fever, that truth, that fire that started with her words but ended in his arms.